Okay, so let's not delay this any further. If it wasn't painfully obvious on how I felt during the video, I'll tell you straight up. I did not like this demo. I did not like playing it at all. I tried my best to keep my thoughts reserved, and I feel like I did a good job on it, but ultimately, I just didn't like it. There's few things that stood out to me that was interesting, but overall, the rest, everything just wasn't good. So let's get to the things that I found bad about this demo. The question is where to begin. I guess I'll say let's begin with the character we play as, the Nameless. I don't have a lot of positive things to say about the Nameless. Actually, if I'll be blunt, I found the Nameless to be a very pathetic character indeed. Everything about his dialogue is just pathetic. It's almost like the Nameless doesn't really have a set personality. He's very, well, if you call being insecure a personality, it's a bad one. It makes me not sympathize with him or empathize with the character at all, especially when you talk to one specific character named Anne Perot. She asks to help you or to talk to you, and your character is just so apprehensive about the gesture to a point of frailty. I just didn't really care for it because he constantly complains about certain things, whether it's going for an elevator, talking about the itch in his chest because he needs nicotine, he needs to smoke. In the context of what is happening, I get it, but when you're playing it for your first time, it kind of reinforces the point that your character is pretty pathetic and talking to about it for other people. And it also doesn't help where in a later part where you examine the Nameless, he complains about the most trivial shit. Socializing is a chore, exercising is a chore, shaving is a chore, even drinking and eating, washing your body. The point is, it doesn't set well for a character that I am playing as when everything to the person I'm playing as, is a chore to him. And constantly talking about like wanting to throw himself into a window shield. It's not good. I'm sorry. It's just not good. I don't like this character at all. Nothing about this character makes me sympathize with his plight. And even when talking to people, he needs to be assertive. I get it, it's a tutorial, but for fuck's sake. Also, let's talk about the dialogue. Oh, the dialogue. It is so confusing to read through, especially when your character is goes by the thing of they and them. It is so annoying to read, especially when it comes to some of the characters. Not everyone. Two of them, like some of the few of them are fine. It's just one character in particular when you share dialogue with, Anne Perot. She is basically the mother hen of this demo, other than probably the entire game once it comes out. If you select a certain dialogue option where you tell her that's not her name, she basically says that she's sorry for mispronouncing your gender. I don't know. And she proceeds to call you baby throughout the whole thing, throughout the whole conversation, and even later conversations when you talk to her, because she is the plot point for some of the events that is going to go on in the demo. And again, I couldn't stand it. It was grating. I didn't really care to talk to her. The character herself is probably fine, but the fact that she refers to you as baby because I selected that, it was annoying. So I also showed this video to a couple of friends. All of them agree that the dialogue with this character is annoying, as well as with the names themselves. One of them actually mentioned Undertale. Now, for clarification, I have never played Undertale, so this is what he told me. He told me that the main character in that game is ambiguous, but the interesting thing about it is that they don't refer to Frisk by sex or gender, whatever. They refer to Frisk as the name, even though Frisk is a default name. You can name that character anything you want. Or they could be referred to as kid or human, considering the context of the game. It takes place in an animal world, I think. And the dialogue manages to be free flowing, not very confusing, unlike this game. I absolutely hated talking to this woman at times. Also, later on, when talking to her, she refers you as MX. And if you could tell from that video, I got very confused what the fuck that was. Please stop referring to the character as they or them. It is so annoying and hard to read. Just refer to the character as the nameless, or give the character an option to change their name to whatever they want. And just stick to that, please. Aside from that one character, we can also talk about another character, Miss Yodrin. There is not really anything special about her. I don't know much about the character. All I know is that she has two kids, she speaks German, and she's a janitor for the apartment block. Outside of that, there's also an exchange where you ask her if she has any cigarettes. She says that she used to smoke, and there is a hint of something that would be interesting about her past, but it never gets explored and it gets dropped. So she's like a cutaway character to me in this demo. And then you have Schmidt. And out of all the characters that I liked exchanging with, this one was pretty funny. The character fits his personality. The dialogue fits the personality, I should say. He is abrasive, but I like this character because he's not a lot of things that he's saying that is wrong. Also, he refers to our character as a boy. Like, see, again, this goes back to how annoying the dialogue is. But at least with this character, he's straight up and thought he was good. I also like the fact that when you actually have to be assertive to ask him for a cigarette, he replies with, "Sure, you can have a cigarette. Actually, as a matter of fact, have the whole pack. Knock yourself out with that sweet, sweet perfume." And the dialogue on that part was pretty funny. I liked it. But of course, knowing the context of this game, the game wants us to perceive him as an asshole. I can't say much about the environment around the game. It pretty much takes place into an environmental block, so I can't talk about much. But what I will talk about is the undertones for this game. And I can say, it's too fucking obvious. If I can decipher what you're talking about, so many others can. It's not obvious who you're talking about. Even when you put the disclaimer that all the events and characters and people in this game is coincidental, you already outlines the obvious. And to some people, it's kind of going to get annoying. And considering the setting this in, I could pretty much figure out what this game is probably going to reference. And it doesn't help you the fact that you add certain warnings that I never even thought was a fucking warning until I looked it up. And it's just. Oh, yeah. But there is one saving grace that I will say that got me hooked, and that is the bird. The bird actually made me interested in what is happening in this game because as soon as you hear an outcry, you could choose to follow or ignore it. I chose to follow it. He shows up, and before you even leave the outside area, he talks to you in a Shakespearean language. And the exchange between my nameless character and the bird was pretty interesting, almost like it was actual development. You learn later on, for some reason, this bird has some connection to the outcry you just heard. You just don't know what. And that is intriguing. I feel like it has something to do with what I am knowing, what the game is spelling out for me. But I hope it proves me wrong because this bird was the most interesting thing. Like, what's the link between the bird and the outcry? And not only you can hear it, but your neighbor Anne, as well as possibly the other neighbors, can hear it. So, what is the significant connection between the outcry and the bird? That one thing kept me hooked to this demo. That one thing. And then at the end of it, you can hear the bird as well as some report spliced in between, like talking. What the heck is going on? I say that, but at the same time, I think I already know what's going on considering what this game's undertones is trying to prevail. But I want to know, I want to hope I'm wrong on that. That was the only saving grace for this demo for me. So outside of that, nothing else I really particularly liked about this demo. I could say that I liked the red guy, Schmidt, but outside of that, there's nothing much I could say about this demo that I particularly love. There are very few things that I loved about this demo. My first impressions of the demo wasn't very great. Dare I say it, to me, in my opinion, this is one of the most horrible demos I have ever had a chance of playing. And I didn't want to play it again. I wanted to move on to another demo. This was, for me, bottom tier. I'm sorry. Maybe the full game would be better, but my first impressions with this was really bad. Like, I mean no ill will to people, and I mean no disrespect, but I had to be blunt. This demo was the worst thing I've ever played, in my opinion. And I didn't really enjoy it at all.